I am cutting my streams from here on out with any interviewee who is going to say anything against the community guidelines, because I have decided that trying to beat YouTube at its own game is impossible. I'm not going to do it. They are going to win. However, that does not mean that I can't game YouTube back to win my own playing field. And that's what I'm planning to do. So from here on out, I'm looking at YouTube like this. It is going to be the tease. It is the worm at the end of my hook, but it is not my fishing hole. My fishing hole will be elsewhere, where you can sit and not get thrown into the ice. You know what I mean? So YouTube's made it very clear that unless you're corporate media, you really can't say anything unless the government's also saying it. And often the corporate media just says what the government says anyway, so it just doesn't offer a whole lot of challenge to what YouTube wants you to say. But corporate news stations can get away with flip-flopping. They can say one day that the Wuhan lab leak hypothesis is crazy and then just turn around the next day before the community guidelines have been updated. And they could just say, oh no, actually now we're looking into it because Fauci said it. And YouTube lets them do it. But small independent creators like me, we can't do journalism. We literally cannot do journalism, and you can't do science. And that's, again, like I said earlier, it's because both of these practices require new things, new ideas and new voices. And when I was in journalism as a professional corporate news reporter, it went without saying, I hoped, maybe I was naive in that regard, that you interviewed the people who had something different to say, because that's what made it new. And that's why we would say new at 6 o'clock, new at 5 o'clock, because it's new. But you can't do anything new on YouTube because the community guidelines say it has to be old. It has to be old and established and safe as far as global and national governmental organizations are concerned, unless you work for one of the main corporate outlets, in which case you can say a lot of stuff that somebody like me is not going to get away with. So moving forward, considering now that I'm one strike away from being in YouTube jail, meaning that I'll lose my live streaming privileges for a week and will not be able to upload for a week, this is another opportunity to tell you that it is time to go to one of my other platforms, because in the event that I get another strike, you will not know unless you go to my other platforms, because I won't be able to tell you. I won't be able to say, hey, I had a video removed for medical misinformation for just letting a doctor respond to an AP article about him. I asked YouTube in my appeal to show me their experts and to show me how there's no possible evidence that what Dr. Hodkinson said in my stream is true. I asked for them to show me how it's impossible for what he said to be true, that there's nothing out there to support what he's saying. And of course, they don't return any of that information. They don't tell you what they know or who their experts are. They just write you back and say, sorry, we've decided that, in fact, you did violate our community guidelines. So like I said, I'm not going to beat them at their own game, but that's not to say that I'm not going to come back on YouTube and use them for what they are worth. And the only thing that YouTube is worth right now is a window into the public to hopefully say, hey, there's some else out here. Okay. There's something else to look at. There's something else to think about. There are other people out there saying interesting things. And if you're interested, let me show you the way. Let me show you the way out of here, out of the matrix. And let's go figure out what the other voices are that are being characterized as any number of inflammatory things that, may or may not be true. To me, as a former journalist, the people who the establishment has determined to be dangerous are exactly the ones that I want to hear from. And you can't do that on YouTube. I used to give my work phone number to everybody when I was a reporter. And that is because I knew that the people who no one else was paying attention to often had the best story ideas. They knew the most because they were the ones on the outside, and they were paying attention to things that were happening that the comfortable people in power were not paying attention to necessarily, and didn't want others to hear about. And it's just antithetical to journalistic practices and science again. And Dr. Malone, who, like I said, was, supposed to be in the live stream that I'm doing right now, but we'll have him on later. He's a scientist, and it's antithetical to the process of both journalism and science to have these community guideline policies that are so dense that you literally cannot ask any questions, unless, like I said, unless you're hiding behind a corporate brand, in which case you can be wrong all the time and it doesn't matter. I'm going to take a couple comments and questions, and I'm going to go. But like I said, we're going to get back to Dr. Malone a little bit later, and I appreciate everybody hanging in there. No sound on YouTube. No ROKFIN live now. Okay. Another switch is ROKFIN. There is sound on YouTube. Okay. It looks like requesting an alternative site that doesn't require a login. Sorry. I don't think I can give you that right now. I need people to inconvenience themselves just a little bit. I hate to say it, but you have to. Or you don't have to. You can choose not to and just not get the content. But, the amount of inconveniencing that small creators like myself have to do for our lives in order to jump through these hoops and keep this content going for people to log in, I feel like, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is right now. There isn't an alternative to YouTube that's exactly the same. So, and you know what, frankly, YouTube does require a login. Actually, don't you have to have a Gmail account if you're going to have the app anyway, if you're going to have the app on your phone? I mean, I know it doesn't if you're just sharing a link and you can watch it on the internet, but I think at this point in time, if we're not willing to inconvenience ourselves just a little bit, then it's okay. But, I can't, I'm not a website creator. So no, I think at this point I need my YouTube fam to decide that they're going to inconvenience themselves just a little bit. And if you don't want to, that's your choice. But, I can't really do much about it at this point. This is YouTube's decision. Like I said earlier in another live stream, YouTube started this. And I'm not trying to play like nanny boo boo on the playground, but I'm not going to win by playing their game. Let's see what else we got here. Yes, you need a Gmail. Must have login to comment. Okay. Is truth worth a little inconvenience? It's worth a lot of inconvenience. I agree. I mean, here's the deal. What I think a lot of people need to understand about how this works with creators too is, first off, if you want the people who are doing the work that you like to survive, and I mean that not just from a censorship standpoint, but from a financial standpoint, and you like their work and you want to throw them a couple bucks a month so that they can keep going and potentially make it a full-time job, in which case they can create content more regularly. YouTube is a terrible place to support a creator. For what I would get for like 500,000 views on YouTube, that's how much I'd have to get, okay, to bring in the same kind of income as just a few hundred on one of my other platforms like Locals or ROKFIN. So a few hundred people, like I have almost 93,000 subscribers, which I'll probably never get to 93,000 because YouTube's decided that I should never be shown to anybody else. But for me to bring in the same kind of income as a few hundred people on one of my other platforms, I'd have to have hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube. YouTube makes it virtually impossible unless you're getting, hundreds of thousands of views per video to do it full time. So you got to be at minimum 250, 300,000 subscribers around there. And you got to be making, got to get a lot of video views. And that's why I've said over and over, and think about this not just with me, but other creators that you follow. If you like their work, think about where your viewership, even if you're not necessarily throwing them any money, but just where you're watching translates to a lot more money on another platform, a lot more. And so, YouTube, you get what you pay for. All right. Right. Isn't that how the old saying goes? You get what you pay for. It's cheap. It's easy. I get it. And listen, I'm here because it has the biggest viewing audience, but it's not a sustainable way for a small creator to continue anymore. If before January, you already had a few 100,000 subscribers, or more than that or something, you're probably okay. But if you're somebody who's trying to grow in the news sector at this point in time and you're not at 100K subscribers, you know, I don't hold your breath to ever get there, because they've made it very clear. They've said it vocally, so it's not like guesswork, but they've said it vocally that they're not promoting the person in the basement anymore. That they've purposely tried to reduce misinformation by 70 to 80%. They're not recommending my videos anymore. I used to be at, like, a huge percentage of my views came from suggested videos. And I hardly get even a percent anymore for suggested videos. They're not putting me in front of people. And I don't even, I mean, to say I don't care is probably a lie. I don't get me wrong. I would love for new people to see my stuff. But what I realized is that, you can't hold your breath. It's like waiting for that dysfunctional ex-boyfriend to, like, finally marry you. I have so many friends who are like, he's gonna propose. I just know it, He's not going to propose. Okay. YouTube is not going to change. So that's just a little bit of relationship advice. If you're one of those people waiting for the guy, it's been 10 years and he keeps telling you the wedding's on the way. As my dad used to say, why buy the cow if you could get the milk for free? So anyway, so I'm just going to go back to YouTube and just use them for what they're worth. And again, like I said, it's a window, and hopefully, some people, but if just 10% of my audience move to these other platforms, 10%, that's it. It makes a big difference. It makes a big difference for a creator. Like I said, a few hundred on Locals or ROKFIN would be equal to hundreds of thousands on YouTube. And anyway, all right. Yeah, Jason's a dairy farmer, so he likes the cow analogy. Why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free? Except for a few creators like Allison, YouTube is boring now. Well, I don't know. There's some interesting stuff out there, but it's certainly not anything that challenges the establishment. I can tell you that. Hey, you know what? As long as we're all talking here, why don't we, I may clip this out of the live stream later, but let's talk about this real fast. Brett Weinstein's Wikipedia entry. Okay. This is interesting. Check this out. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. Well, before I show this, like I said, I'm probably going to clip this from the big picture here before we get onto this next topic, which then you can look for if you're watching on YouTube in another video. Big picture is that I'm nuking my live streams from here on out after a few minutes. Like when we talk to Dr. Malone, for instance, inventor of mRNA vaccines, we're going to only we're literally only going to discuss what is mRNA? What is an mRNA vaccine? What does it mean to be an inventor of mRNA vaccines? And we might talk a little bit about censorship, about his thoughts on techno-fascism, I think is what he called it. But as far as anything else about the vaccines, about his concerns, anything, that is going somewhere else on ROKFIN. Okay. It's not going to be here on YouTube. I'm not chancing it anymore. It doesn't do me any good to get booted off of YouTube, and I'm not going to win. Like I said, I'm going to use them to get people off of their site. I'm going to be like the lady who worked, it's not always a lady, obviously they're a male hairstylist, who's handing out the business card to get you to go to their home shop that they're going to open up. I'm at the salon, and I'm at what's a famous salon? Give me, oh God, what are some of the famous like chain salons? Somebody help me out here. I'm at one of those salons, and I'm at the blow dryer, and I'm just handing out my business card, and I hope that they'll go to, okay, let's see. Matt Christians runs his stream through some kind of hub that restreams his live to multiple outputs. No, yeah, I mean, to do ODYSEE. No, I am live streaming to ODYSEE right now. The problem is ODYSEE only takes the feed from YouTube. So when I cut the YouTube feed, it cuts ODYSEE. In order to stream to ODYSEE, if I'm not streaming on YouTube, I have to stream directly to ODYSEE, and I can't stream anywhere else. So it doesn't work. So I can't add ODYSEE to my overall link for ODYSEE to continue. It's just taking my YouTube feed, if that makes sense. If I want to live stream to ODYSEE when I'm not live streaming on YouTube, like I said, I have to do it on ODYSEE. I can't do it through my software. And that means I can't live stream somewhere else. I can't do ROKFIN at the same time or something like that. Locals does live now, yes, but it's the same thing as ODYSEE. You have to live stream indirectly to Locals, and you can't have a guest. So I have to hit the button. I can't bring in a guest feed because I can't use my software. I have to go into Locals, and from Locals website, that's how I stream, which means that the person that I'm interviewing has to physically be with me in order to do that. So until Locals changes that or ODYSEE changes that, which both are working on, I've talked to the people higher ups at both, and they're both working on that. ROKFIN is really the only place right now that's taking a feed from another location. And I'm sorry, I don't know all of the tech words for this, but that's the issue. Aveda, thank you, Jeffrey. So I'm at Aveda and I'm at the blow dryer, and I'm like, "Oh, your hair is so nice, YouTube. By the way, YouTube is rotting your brain because it's putting tons of chemicals in your roots, and you should go to my all natural salon. And here's my business card." That's what I'm doing at the blow dryer right now.